In section 2.8 part 4, we're going to combine our skills that we learned from section 2.7 and the skills we learned here in section 2.8. If you remember back in section 2.7, we graphed absolute value equations. Alright, so graphing an absolute value inequality is graphed the exact same way, only you really have to pay attention. Are you going to use a solid line or a dashed or dotted line? So that just depends on if you have a greater than or equal to versus a greater than. But we know with inequalities there's also going to have to be some shading involved. Alright, so that's the extra step. So, but the actual first part is the same as in 2.7. Alright, so we have the inequality here, y is greater than or equal to negative 1/2 times the absolute value of x plus 2 minus 1. So in order to graph this, we have to first locate the vertex. Alright, we know the vertex is h comma k, where it's always the opposite of whatever this value is. So my vertex is going to be not positive 2, but negative 2, and then negative 1. And we know that a value is negative 1/2. So I'm going to plot this vertex, so negative 2, negative 1. From the vertex, we're going to go down 1 unit and right 2 units. And then we're going to go back to that vertex and come down 1 unit and left 2 units. And we will draw 2 rays extending from the vertex through our points. And we'll see that our line here is in fact solid because we have this equal to sign there. So I've got a solid line coming through this way. And another one coming through that way. So the last step is shading, right? Once you get that graphed, so I'm going to go to my favorite point because I can, 0, 0. Alright, it's not on, same rule applies here. You can't use a point that falls on the actual graph of your inequality. Alright, you got to find one either outside it. This is all outside the inequality or inside the v, either outside or inside the v. 0, 0 falls outside. So that's what I'm going to use. My test point will be 0, 0. So I'm going to go back to the original inequality. So y is greater than or equal to negative 1/2 times the absolute value of x plus 2 minus 1. And I'm going to plug these values in. So the value of y is 0. It's greater than or equal to negative 1/2 times the absolute value of x is 0. So 0 plus 2 minus 1. And again, you just evaluate each side independently. You're not moving anything from one side to the other. Absolute value bars are like parentheses. So when you're doing your order of operation, you have to simplify within the absolute value first. So I've got 0 is greater than or equal to negative 1/2 times the absolute value of 2 minus 1. I'm going to evaluate my absolute value now. Absolute value of 2 is 2 minus 1. And then I've got negative 1/2 times 2. So half of 2 is 1, but it's negative. So negative 1 minus 1. And 0 is greater than or equal to negative 2. Is 0 greater than or equal to negative 2? Yes, it is. So this is true. So my test point proved to be true, so I want to shade in the region that includes that test point, which is outside my v, not inside. So I'm just going to shade outside the v. And that's graphing absolute value inequalities.